My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 33 years old, and I live in Columbus, Ohio. People often tell me that I am a calm and dependable man. I work as a project manager for a construction company. My job keeps me busy, but I have always believed that working hard is one way to show love. I wanted to build a safe and happy future for the woman I loved. Her name was Olivia Brooks. If you asked me 2 years ago, I would have smiled and said she was the best thing that ever happened to me. We met in a small coffee shop on a rainy Saturday morning. I was waiting for my order when she accidentally bumped into me. My coffee spilled onto my shirt. She looked embarrassed and apologized over and over again. "I am so sorry," she said, laughing nervously. I looked at my stained shirt and laughed too. "It's okay. At least it wasn't hot." That simple accident became the beginning of our story. We talked for almost 2 hours that day. She loved reading mystery novels. I loved hiking and watching baseball. We were different in many ways, but talking to her felt easy. Before we left, I asked for her phone number. She smiled. "I was hoping you would ask." That smile stayed in my mind for days. A few weeks later, we officially started dating. Life felt brighter with Olivia beside me. She was kind to strangers. She remembered birthdays. She called her parents every Sunday. She laughed at my terrible jokes even when they were not funny. She made ordinary days feel special. After 4 years together, everyone expected us to get married. Even my mother loved her. "Ethan," Mom said one Christmas, "don't let this woman get away. She's wonderful." I smiled proudly. "I know, Mom." The truth was, I had already bought a ring. Not because Olivia asked me to, because I couldn't imagine my life without her. I wanted to surprise her after I saved enough money for a down payment on our first house. I dreamed about a backyard where our future children could play. I imagined weekend barbecues, family holidays, and growing old together. Every extra hour I worked felt like another brick in the future we were building. At least, that was what I believed. As the months passed, my schedule became busier. Some weeks I worked late almost every night. Olivia always smiled when I came home. "You work too much," she would say. I kissed her forehead. "I'm doing it for us." She nodded every time. "I know." Those words gave me peace. But little things slowly began to change. She stopped asking about my day. She spent more time looking at her phone. Sometimes she smiled at messages, then quickly locked the screen when I walked into the room. I noticed it, but I told myself not to overthink. Everyone deserves privacy. Everyone has friends. One Friday evening, I came home earlier than usual with flowers in my hand. I wanted to surprise her with dinner. When I opened the apartment door, Olivia was sitting on the couch. She looked startled. She quickly turned her phone over. "Oh," she said, "you're home early." "I wanted to surprise you." She forced a smile. "That's sweet." For a moment, the room felt strangely quiet. Then she stood up and hugged me. Her hug felt warm, but somehow different. That night, while she was taking a shower, her phone lit up on the coffee table. I wasn't trying to spy. The screen simply lit up in front of me. One message appeared. "Ryan, I can't stop thinking about tonight. My heart skipped a beat. I stared at the screen for several seconds. Maybe Ryan was talking about work. Maybe they had dinner with coworkers. Maybe I was imagining things. When Olivia came back into the living room, I had already looked away. She smiled. "What are you thinking about?" I smiled back, hiding the uncomfortable feeling inside me. "Nothing." I wanted to ask about Ryan. I wanted to ask why that message sounded so personal. But love has a strange way of making us ignore the things we fear the most. That night, I held the engagement ring hidden inside my desk drawer. I told myself that trust was more important than doubt. I chose to believe the woman I loved. I had no idea that the first crack in my heart had already begun to spread. After I saw Ryan's message, I told myself to forget it. I wanted to believe there was a simple explanation. Olivia had never given me a reason to doubt her before. Maybe Ryan was just a coworker. Maybe they were planning a surprise birthday party for someone. Maybe I was letting my imagination ruin a beautiful relationship. So I said nothing. The next morning, I acted as if everything was normal. Olivia smiled while making pancakes. "Do you want coffee?" she asked. "Of course." She poured me a cup and kissed my cheek. For a moment, I felt embarrassed. How could I think something bad about the woman I loved? I decided to trust her. But over the next few weeks, small changes became impossible to ignore. Olivia started working late more often. "Our team has a new project," she explained. "I understand," I replied. She began carrying her phone everywhere. Even when she walked to the kitchen for a glass of water, her phone stayed in her hand. At night, she turned the screen away from me. Whenever a message arrived, she looked at it quickly and smiled before putting the phone back into her pocket. I noticed everything. Still, I blamed myself. Maybe I wasn't giving her enough attention. Maybe I worked too much. Maybe she felt lonely because I was always chasing overtime. The thought hurt me. I loved Olivia with all my heart. If she needed more of my time, I wanted to change. So I started saying no to extra work. My manager looked surprised. "You usually volunteer for overtime," he said. "I need to spend more time with someone important." He smiled. "Good choice." That Friday, I made dinner myself. It wasn't anything fancy. Grilled chicken, mashed potatoes, and her favorite salad. I even bought candles. When Olivia came home, she looked shocked. "What's all this?" I smiled. "I missed you." For the first time in weeks, she looked genuinely happy. We laughed during dinner. We watched an old romantic movie together. She rested her head on my shoulder. For one beautiful evening, it felt like we had found each other again. As we got ready for bed, she whispered, "I love you." Those words wrapped around my heart like a warm blanket. Maybe everything really was okay. Maybe love simply went through difficult seasons. I fell asleep believing our worst days were behind us. The next morning, I woke up alone. Olivia had already left. She sent me a short text. "Busy today. Meeting clients. See you tonight." The little heart made me smile. I answered, "Love you. Have a great day." That afternoon, Jason Reed, my best friend, called me. "Hey," he said, Are you free for lunch? I've got about an hour. We met at a small sandwich shop near my office. Jason had known me since college. He could read my face better than anyone. You seem tired, he said. I've just been working a lot. He studied me quietly. Is everything okay between you and Olivia? I hesitated. I don't know. I told him about Ryan's message, about the late nights, about the secretive phone. Jason frowned. Have you asked her? I shook my head. No. Why not? Because if I'm wrong, I'll hurt her. Jason sighed. And if you're right? I looked down at my coffee. I don't know if I'm ready for that answer. A week later, I finished work earlier than expected. Instead of driving straight home, I decided to surprise Olivia at her office. I imagined taking her out for dinner. Maybe we could talk. Maybe we could reconnect. When I arrived, I didn't see her car. I waited outside for a few minutes. Then I noticed her across the street. She wasn't alone. A tall man stood beside her. Ryan. I recognized him from a photo Olivia had once shown me after an office party. They were laughing together. Then, without hesitation, Ryan wrapped his arms around her. Olivia didn't pull away. She hugged him back. Not like friends, not like co-workers. Like two people who shared something private. My hands tightened around the steering wheel. My chest felt heavy. I wanted to walk over and demand an explanation. Instead, I stayed frozen. A few seconds later, they stepped apart. Ryan gently touched her face. She smiled at him. Then she noticed my car. Our eyes met across the street. Her smile disappeared. She hurried toward me. Ethan. I opened the car door slowly. Who is he? She looked nervous. You've met him before. He's just my coworker. Then why were you holding each other like that? She looked away for a moment. He was having a difficult day. I was comforting him. The answer sounded calm, reasonable, almost believable. I searched her eyes for the truth. I have nothing to worry about? She reached for my hand. No, you trust me, don't you? I wanted to say no. I wanted to ask 100 questions. Instead, I squeezed her hand and whispered the words that would haunt me later. Yes, I trust you. As we drove home in silence, I kept telling myself that trust was stronger than fear. But deep inside, another voice kept asking the same painful question. If there was nothing to hide, why did her eyes look so full of guilt? After I saw Olivia with Ryan, nothing felt the same. She still smiled at me. She still kissed me goodbye before work. She still said, I love you. But every word sounded different now. It was like listening to a beautiful song after learning it was all a lie. For the next few days, I barely slept. Every night, I stared at the ceiling, asking myself the same question. What am I doing wrong? Was I working too much? Had I stopped being romantic? Had I become boring? I searched for reasons to blame myself, because believing I had failed felt easier than believing Olivia had betrayed me. One Saturday morning, she told me she had another business meeting. I'll be back before dinner, she said. I forced a smile. Drive safely, As soon as she left, I sat alone in our apartment. The silence felt heavier than ever. I looked toward the small desk where the engagement ring was still hidden inside a drawer. For months, I had dreamed about the day I would ask her to marry me. Now, I wasn't even sure if she still loved me. I picked up my phone several times, thinking about calling her. Every time I put it back down. I didn't want another lie. I wanted the truth. That evening, Olivia came home looking tired. She hugged me. "I'm exhausted." I hugged her back. "So am I." She didn't notice what I meant. After dinner, she fell asleep on the couch while watching television. Her phone rested beside her. A message appeared on the screen. This time, I didn't look away. I wish I had. Because some truths change your life forever. The message was from Ryan. "I miss you already. Today was perfect. I wish we didn't have to hide anymore." My hands started shaking. I unlocked the phone. The password was still my birthday. That hurt almost as much as the messages. She had never bothered changing it. Maybe she never thought I would look. Maybe she trusted my love more than she respected it. Hundreds of messages filled the screen. Pictures, heart emojis, plans for secret dinners, hotel reservations. "I miss you." "I can't wait to see you." "I love you." The oldest messages went back almost 8 months. 8 months. While I worked overtime to build our future, she had been building another life behind my back. My vision became blurry. I wasn't crying yet. I think I was too shocked to cry. When Olivia woke up, she saw the phone in my hand. Her face turned white. "Ethan!" I stood up slowly. "How long?" She didn't answer. "How long, Olivia?" Her voice trembled. 8 months. Those 2 words crushed something inside me. I laughed. Not because anything was funny, because my heart didn't know how else to survive. 8 months? She lowered her head. "I'm sorry." I looked at her in disbelief. "Sorry?" "You've been lying to me every day for 8 months, and all you can say is you're sorry?" Tears rolled down her face. "I never wanted to hurt you." "Then why did you?" She covered her face with both hands. I felt lonely. The room became silent. I stared at her. "Lonely? You were always working. I was working for us." "I know." "No, you don't know." My voice cracked for the first time. I skipped vacations. I worked nights. I worked weekends. I saved every extra dollar because I wanted us to have a home. I walked to my desk and opened the drawer. The small velvet box was still there. I placed it on the table between us. "I bought this 6 months ago." Olivia's eyes widened. "You were going to—" "I was going to ask you to marry me." She burst into tears. "I'm so sorry." I shook my head. "No." She looked at me. "If you were unhappy, you could have talked to me." She stayed silent. "If you wanted to leave, you could have left." More silence. "But instead—" I looked directly into her eyes. "You let me keep loving someone who had already chosen another man." She couldn't answer. Because there was no answer, only regret, only guilt, only the painful truth. I picked up the ring box. Slowly, I closed it. I loved you with everything I had. I know. I trusted you more than anyone. I know. And now… I swallowed the lump in my throat. I don't even recognize the woman standing in front of me. She reached for my hand. Ethan, please. I stepped back. No. For the first time in 4 years, I refused to hold her hand. I walked to the bedroom and packed a small bag. She followed me, crying. Please don't leave. I zipped the bag closed. You stopped fighting for us 8 months ago. I walked to the front door. She collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. I still love you. I stopped for 1 second. Without turning around, I answered quietly, If this is what your love looks like. I opened the door. I'd rather live without it. Then I walked away. Behind me, I could hear the woman I once planned to marry crying harder than ever. But some hearts break so deeply that even tears cannot put the pieces back together. The first few weeks after I left were the hardest days of my life. I moved into a small apartment on the other side of the city. It wasn't much. There was an old couch, a tiny kitchen, and walls that felt too quiet. For the first time in years, I came home to an empty place. No one asked about my day. No one laughed at my terrible jokes. No one waited for me. The silence was painful. Some nights, I sat alone with a cup of coffee, staring out the window until sunrise. I kept asking myself the same question. Why? Why wasn't my love enough? Why didn't she simply tell me she was unhappy? Why did she choose lies instead of honesty? No matter how many times I asked those questions, the answers never came. One afternoon, Jason visited my apartment. He looked around and smiled. It isn't fancy, he said, but it's a fresh start. I nodded. I still think about her every day. I know. I still miss her. That's normal. I sighed. I hate that I still love someone who hurt me. Jason placed a hand on my shoulder. Loving someone isn't a weakness, Ethan. I looked at him. But staying where you're not respected is. His words stayed with me long after he left. Instead of hiding from my pain, I decided to face it. I started going to therapy once a week. At first, I didn't want to talk. I simply sat there in silence. Then, little by little, I shared my story. The therapist listened carefully. One day, she asked me a simple question. Ethan, whose choice was the affair? I answered without thinking. Olivia's. She nodded. Then why are you carrying all the blame? I couldn't answer. Because I had spent months believing I wasn't good enough. That maybe if I had worked less, maybe if I had planned more dates, maybe if I had noticed sooner, none of this would have happened. But the truth was different. Olivia had many chances to be honest. She could have talked to me. She could have asked for counseling. She could have ended our relationship before starting another one. Instead, she chose to cheat. That decision belonged to her, not to me. For the first time, I stopped blaming myself. Months passed. life slowly became lighter. I returned to hiking on weekends. I reconnected with old friends. I visited my parents more often. My mother hugged me one afternoon and whispered, "I'm proud of you." I smiled. For what? For surviving something that could have made you bitter. I thought about her words all day. She was right. I had two choices. I could spend the rest of my life hating women because one woman betrayed me. Or I could accept that people are different. Some people are loyal, some people are not. A few months later, I received a letter in the mail. The handwriting looked familiar. It was from Olivia. She wrote about her regrets. She admitted that her relationship with Ryan had ended quickly. She said she had confused excitement with love. She apologized for every lie. At the end of the letter, she wrote one sentence that stayed in my mind. "Losing you was the biggest mistake of my life." I folded the letter carefully. Then I placed it back into the envelope. For a long time, I sat quietly. I didn't feel angry anymore. I didn't feel happy either. I simply felt free. Some mistakes cannot be undone. Some apologies arrive too late. I never answered her letter. Not because I hated her, but because I had finally learned to choose myself. A year later, I stood on a quiet hill during one of my weekend hikes. The wind was cool, the sky was clear. For the first time in a long while, my heart felt peaceful. I looked at the view and smiled. Then I remembered the question that had once filled every lonely night. Why do women cheat? Today, my answer is different. Not all women cheat. Not all men stay faithful. Cheating is not something that belongs to one gender. It belongs to people who choose dishonesty over honesty. I never truly understood why Olivia betrayed me. Maybe I never will. But I finally understood something far more important. Someone else's betrayal does not define my value. Love should never require you to lose your self-respect. Trust should never be built on lies. And if someone chooses another path, instead of speaking the truth, let them go. Because the right person will never make you question your worth. My name is Ethan Carter. I once believed losing the woman I loved was the end of my story. I was wrong. It was the painful beginning of a better life. If you're listening to my story while carrying a broken heart, I hope you remember this. Sometimes the person who walks away from your life doesn't take your future with them. Sometimes they simply make room for the person you are meant to become. And that is a future worth believing in.